Hi everybody, I'm Jared Pike. This is Shell Point Today for Tuesday, August 13th. On today's show, we give you one last reminder about the Shell Point digital TV transition, which affects everyone starting tonight. We'll also hear the story of Ken Rohde, who flew B-17s during the war as pilot, co-pilot, and tail gunner. But first, a quick reminder about today's big event, the behind-the-scenes tour of the Shell Point Woodshop. See all 3,000 square feet of this workshop and witness demonstrations of all the different machinery available. This free event happens this morning from 10:15 a.m. to 12 o'clock noon in the woodshop, which is located in the Island Tunnel. Now, the TV system. We've been banging the drum on this one for a few months, and now the time has arrived. The old Shell Point TV system is going to be switched off tonight. And tomorrow morning, a new, glorious digital TV system will be operating with new channels and high definition. Now, that also means tomorrow morning, your TV will need to be reprogrammed. Now, we know that not all of you are the most technologically proficient, but folks, we have faith in you. Reprogramming a digital TV is as easy as pushing a few buttons. And if you can do it yourself, then you won't have to wait for people to come to your house before you can start watching TV again. Now, to show you how easy it can be, Peter Burt and I went through the process ourselves. Hi everybody, it's Jared Pike and Peter Burt here with Shell Point TV. We're talking about the digital TV transition. In August, all of the TV channels at Shell Point will transition from analog to digital, which means you need a new set like this and you're going to have a new channel lineup. You're going to have more HD channels. It's going to be great. Now, Peter, one consequence of this is that your TV will need to be reprogrammed.
That's correct. It will not work initially when you first turn it on. And I think we can go through the reprogramming method on this TV. They're all similar.
Yes. Now, Shell Point will gladly do this for you. But again, with 2,000 residents, it's going to be a long time if you wait for someone to help you. So we're going to try and walk you through it. And as Peter said, it's not as difficult as it seems. We're going to reprogram this TV, pretend that it's August 14th, and see if we can get the new lineup. All right, the first key part is to look for a button on your remote that says Menu. There it is right there. So I'm going to hit Menu, and it's going to bring up several choices here. Now, again, every TV is different. So let's see, if we wanted to reprogram the channels, in one of these menu options is how you program the channels. So let's see if we can find it. Let's look at channel. Okay, there it is. Now, the other key, folks, here's the important thing to look for, is something that says scan or auto scan. That's going to be the easiest way to do that. This is basically your television is going to do this for you. So once you hit auto scan, start. Yes, I want to start. Now tell us what's happening in this process, Peter.
The tuner that's built into this TV, the digital tuner, is going through and it's looking at every possible TV channel that there is out there. If it's an active TV channel, it will recognize that and it will put it in the TV's memory.
Okay, so it's basically looking at the universe and saying, okay, channel 2, is there anything there? Yes, there is. I'll remember it. Channel 3, is there anything there? Yes, I'll remember it. And so right now it's found 23, 24, 25. So this is basically a process. You hit the start button, then you go and get a cup of coffee and let it do its thing. And you can see the progress as it goes along. So after...
They vary depending on the manufacturer. Some of them are done in a few minutes and some of them take up to 2 hours.
Yeah, so whether it's a few minutes or a few hours, just let it do its thing. If you have multiple TVs, do this on all of them. And then by the end of it, you'll have the new lineup, all the new Shell Point channels. And this is a simple enough process, Peter.
It is, but again, if you get in trouble, we'll be glad to send someone out to help you go through this, or we'll do it for you and make sure you get in the TV that you should get.
And to do that, how would they contact you?
By calling the One Call Does It All number, the call center at 454-2190.
Okay. Now, the final important piece of information here, folks. Don't do this until August 14th. Wednesday, August 14th is when you'll have the new signal. If you do it the night before, You'll have all the old channels. It won't help you. Wait until the morning of Wednesday, August 14th, and then go through this process. And you'll have all the new channels, some in HD, all in digital. It's going to be fantastic. So, for Peter Burt, this is Jared Pike, ShellPoint TV. Once again, a new TV system will be in place when you wake up tomorrow morning. And that's when you'll need to do this reprogramming process on all your TVs. But if you have any questions or need personal assistance, we're ready. Just call the call center at 454-2190, and we'll do our best to help you in time. Now, speaking of technology, during World War II, there was no greater marvel of technology than the B-17 Flying Fortress. This thing had a 103-foot wingspan with 13 .50 caliber machine guns in 8 different turrets. It weighed 54,000 pounds, and it flew up to 2,000 miles at a time. Now, B-17 pilots are becoming pretty scarce, so if you ever get a chance to talk to one, take advantage. And that's just what happened with Ken Rohde of Macoma, a former B-17 pilot, co-pilot, and tail gunner. Now, at a recent reunion of the 8th Air Force, Ken told his story to an organization called Witness to War, which records and preserves these oral histories. Here is Ken Rohde's story of flying the B-17.
In 1941, they had a one-year draft for those at 21 years old. I was drafted into the infantry. Then they shipped us overseas to Fiji and took over their spot. And that was to defend a new air base being built in Fiji, which the Japanese would have loved to have had. Luckily, I transferred to the Air Force and got shipped back to the States. So I was in the Air Force. Well, I wanted to fly, but I didn't know what. And I wanted to either fly bombers or cargo planes. And luckily, they sent me to a bombers group, B-17s. That was my first experience of flying. We were flying these biplanes, Stearmans, and my instructor pilot was a test pilot from, I think, Northrop. And he took me up and we did some gentle turns and stuff like that, glides. And I think we'd been up a half hour, and finally he says, "Do you want to fly upside down?" And I couldn't talk to him, but he could talk to me. I just shook my head, no. He said, "Well, that's all right, but before you solo, you'll be flying upside down." And that turned out to be true. Before we soloed, we were flying upside down in a lot of it. I graduated at Moody Field at Valdosta, Georgia, and it was customary to get 10 days delay en route for your next assignment. Well, the whole class had got assignments, and there was 10 of us left when the colonel come out and says, "You're my 10 best pilots," and that didn't sound good. And you hear that, you know there's something going to happen that you may not like. And he finally says, "You're going on special assignments. No wives, no cars, no children." So I had an hour to tell my wife that I'm not going with you and you're going to drive home alone through the mountains to Michigan. She was not a happy gal at that time. We find out we're co-pilots on combat crews. We're going to combat. And we left in the middle of June to embark for England. Well, when I walked into headquarters, a B-24 squadron was just coming back from their mission over Germany. And on the tail of one of the B-24s was a parachute hooked with a body on the end just twisting in the wind. And everybody looked at that and they said, "It's war for real." One evening, the navigator come up to me. He says, "You're flying tomorrow." And I thought, "Why am I flying with not my crew?" He says, "You're flying in the lead ship with us in the tail gun." And I says, tail gun? I says, I'm a pilot, I'm not a tail gunner. He said, I'm sorry, but you're flying in the tail gun. We were going to go to a place called Mersburg. That was a big oil plant in Germany on the far side. That means you got to cross all Germany to get there. And I'm in the tail gun. Well, one of the waist gunners asked me before we took off, you ever fired a 50 caliber machine gun? I says, I've never seen one before, let alone fire one. So he gave me some instructions how to fire a machine gun, 50 caliber. Well, then when we get in the air, we get out over the channel, and the pilot says, now you can test fire your machine guns into the channel. So that was the first time I ever fired a 50 caliber machine gun. When we started getting near enemy lines, he says, better put your flak suits on. Nobody ever told me how to put a flak suit on, so I spent half the flight figuring out how to get a flak suit on in the tail gun. And it took me a couple of missions to find out you don't do it by yourself, somebody comes back and does it for you. But I didn't know that, so I didn't ask. You're looking back, you don't see what's ahead of you. And I'm looking back and I see all these black puffs, going by us. I learned when you're up in the cockpit, those puffs are balls of fire that you're looking at. And they're called flak. And that was my first experience. At that time I was kind of bewildered and didn't really know what was going on. Once we hit the target and they announced bombs away, the lead plane went into usually a diving turn, and you followed them. And the reason for the diving turn was to upset the gunners shooting at you, because they got you on radar, they're used to you flying straight and level. Now you go into a diving turn, they got to change all their adjustments. And they can't keep up with you. But that's when the German fighters are waiting for you, and they start coming after you. One time we had so many holes in our plane we quit counting. I think we got up to 50 and gave up. If it didn't hit an engine or anything like that, you just keep flying. And when you get to interrogation, you're all offered a good shot of whiskey. I learned that after one mission, I couldn't take it. That shot of whiskey knocked me out and I missed my supper. So I always gave my shot of whiskey to my top gunner. We're leading the 8th Air Force. And I was on the lead ship in the tail gun again. And I had to admit, I'm sitting in the tail gun, and I said to myself, how on earth did a guy like me get in a plane that's leading the whole 8th Air Force? Now that's not hundreds of bombers, that's probably 1,500 bombers or more following us. Looking to my right, and I see a big cloud of flak off to the right. I look to the left, and I see another big flak over to the left, and I said, that's just like in the infantry when we used to line up the mortars. We'd shoot to the right, we'd shoot to the left, and the third one was on the target. That's just what happened to us. The third barrage of flak come up was centered right on our squadron. And the planes disappeared right and left. Shortly after that, he dropped his wheels. That meant he's leaving the formation. He's in trouble and leaving. So I'm all alone with the crew. So we just hit the throttles, pulled the nose up, and headed for the middle of the Baltic Sea. We got way out there where the flak couldn't hit us, and we settled down. Now, how are we going to get home from here? Finally got out in the North Sea and on home. My navigator fills in for another plane navigator that got sick, and they got shot down. So I lost the navigator, and I lost this flight surgeon. War is that way, they come and they go. You got a friend today, and tomorrow he's a POW or killed in action, or missing. You just don't know. My last mission was on December 6th. We got out to take off, and Stan, the pilot, he says, you take off and fly until we get formed. And then he takes over and bombs away. I took over, and we came home. Well, someplace in there, the bang took place, and our cockpit was one big cloud. I couldn't see the instruments, and I didn't look at Stan because I didn't know if Stan was still with me. But I could not see the instruments. I knew I could move my fingers and toes, but the cloud gradually disappeared, and I could see the instruments, and then I thought, I wonder how everybody else is. Top engineer says, Rohde, if you don't want to go out through the nose, all you got to do is go out behind your seat. There's a hole there big enough for you to go through. I know everybody flying around us said, well, he had it. It's his last mission, and you just don't finish your last mission. And when we got back to the base and landed, of course the runway's all lined up because they want to make sure I got home. And they see that big hole, and I can remember nurses and Red Cross girls and all. So I would go like this, put my thumb up, and then they'd clap. That's how I came home. I was lucky to be on the B-17. That was the most perfect plane in the air. The B-17, you could almost relax while you're flying it. I flew the B-17 many a time without any feet on the rudders. We had 4 good engines. As long as you had 4 good engines, that plane would fly.
If you've got some amazing flyboy stories, then you know we want to hear about them. Contact me by phone at 489-8431 or by email, jaredpike@shellpoint.org. Let's share these stories together. Now, it's time to cover all of today's happenings from Resort Services, followed by your menus and Village Church connections.
Welcome to the happenings segment of ShellPoint TV. I'm Bev Chandley, and this is Suzanne Savada. We're going to go over activities offered for you here at ShellPoint today. Our first activity of the day is at 7:15, bright and early. We have a Health Connections class, Bend, Breathe, and Balance. That'll be down in the Health Club. It's $5 per class. Drop on by. At 8 o'clock, the Round Robin Men's Doubles Tennis will be down at the Woodlands Tennis Courts. 8:15 is the time the Stamp Ministry volunteers will be working in the stamp room down in the tunnel. At 9 o'clock, the Suzy Q will be setting off for a sightseeing tour. Sign up is required, $5 per passenger. Call the Island Greeters Desk. At 9:15, open painting will be in the art studio. And our last 9:15 activity is shuffleboard. That'll be at the shuffleboard court behind the Resident Activity Center. At 9:30, you'll find the match play mixed doubles tennis down at the Woodlands Tennis Courts. Now at 10:15 this morning, you'll find the wood shop open house going on, so make sure you get a chance to go down and see what's going on in the wood shop. At 10:30, the Suzy Q turns around and goes to Rum Runners for lunch. Sign up is required. It's $5 per passenger. Call the Island Greeters Desk. Here's Suzanne with the afternoon activities.
We'll start the afternoon off at 12:30 with mixed progressive bridge in the game room at the Woodlands. At 1:15, we have the Knitters group in the Osprey room on the island, the Rollicking Recorders in the Turpin room on the island, and we have the Women's Ministries prayer group in the hospitality room of the Village Church. At 1:30, the Stamp Ministry will be in the Sable room at the Woodlands. And our last Tuesday activity is 2:45, a Health Connections Balance and Mobility Training Level 2 in the Health Club on the island, and this is full. Thanks for joining us here for all the Tuesday activities, and we'll see you back here for Wednesday.
Menus for Tuesday. In the Island Cafe for lunch, enjoy a patty melt with grilled onions and fries for $6.95. For dinner, it's grilled catfish with potato cakes, green beans, and tomatoes for $7.95. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill are Steak Diane for $14.95 or crab cakes for $16.95. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Hi, welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm Andy Hawkins. I'm the senior pastor of the Village Church, and I'm here with Nita DeWeese, who's one of the people that are instrumental in having our church library so wonderfully functioning. And this is summertime, isn't it?
That's right.
And people, well, I think people in Shell Point love to read all the time, but especially in the summer. And so we are going to take a look at some of the suggested reading lists that we have from the Village Church Library that people are very interested in. And I understand that we've got a wide selection of things to look at, both fiction and nonfiction, right?
That's
so
right.
Tell us a little bit about what you have in mind.
Well, some of the last 21 of the 75 books recently ordered are all new, but I, of course, don't have 75 here.
Right.
We've got them on 3 or 4 different summer reading lists at the moment. I did bring a few. A lot of our series books were updated.
Great.
Very popular Chambers of Justice series by Craig Parshall now has volume 4 and 5. Tracy Peterson is a favorite among our readers, and we have a new series started for her titled Land of Shining Water. And another new series by her is Bridal Veil Island, and we have books by her, 1, 2, and 3.
Now, people sort of get connected with these series, don't they?
They do, and they love them, and they just can't wait till the next one comes out.
Almost an addiction.
Right, absolutely. And it's especially
It's a good addiction.
Especially when it's a favorite author. They don't care what she's writing, they're for it.
Right.
I have one nonfiction. It's a Heroes of Faith book by Rachel Phillips, which is a biography about St. Augustine. And Joel Rosenberg, who is fiction and nonfiction, is my favorite prophetic writer.
It's almost hard to tell a line when he crosses the line here. That's right.
You don't know if you just saw that on the news or you just read it in his book. And his latest is Damascus Countdown, which is volume 3 of the 12th Iman series. Fearless by Max Lucado is also a 2013 acquisition.
What a beloved writer, though. People just love to read his material, and he keeps coming out with more, and they're just always very encouraging.
Always excellent. You never feel like you have too many of his. Another nonfiction is Loving the Way Jesus Loves by Phil Ryken.
Right.
And I hear you're a
I love
fan
Philip
of his.
Ryken. Absolutely. I've read a number of things by him.
Right.
Great author, very much a scholarly author. And this particular book, what's that about? What's that titled?
Loving the Way Jesus Loves.
Yeah. And I understand it, that's his exposition of one of my favorite chapters in the Bible, and maybe yours, and maybe a lot of others, is 1 Corinthians 13.
It is
a great treatment of that
very
passage.
Favorite. And those are the books that I brought with me, but in addition to what we purchase, many of our books are donated. It keeps our library full, and if we can't use a donation, we pass it on to one of the other inspirational libraries around the campus. We have them in the King's Crown and the Arbor and now the Springs, and of course some over at the Pavilion. And then if they can't use them or they are duplicates over there, then we put them on our 50-cent sale shelf.
I see.
So they don't go to waste any way you look at it.
That's terrific.
And I wanted to point out that if you don't live at Shell Point, that doesn't make any difference. You can use our library. You don't even have to be a church member to use it. We have several staff on our patron list.
Oh, that's great.
So I want everybody to feel welcome to come in and use it.
Yeah, well, that's great information, because obviously this broadcast gets sent to various locations, and staff inevitably see it because it's being run on all of these television screens. So it's really encouraging that staff love to read too, and so they can come by the Village Church library and get some of these things. That's terrific.
Also, remember, you can go to www.shellpoint.net and click on Church Library and then search, and you can go in and see if we have your favorite author.
Fabulous.
Now, we won't know that it's in, that somebody else doesn't have it out, but you'll know that we own it.
Right.
So you can always check that without making a trip in to find out that it's not there.
Great.
And our hours are still 9 to 11 and 1 to 3, 6 days a week. We have additional hours on Wednesday from 5 to 7, and on Sunday from 8:30 to 10:15 in the morning, and 4 to 6 in the afternoon.
Fabulous.
And what a better way to spend a rainy summer day.
Absolutely. And we've had a little bit of rain, haven't we?
even without Noah.
Even without Noah. That's right. Yeah. Well, that's wonderful information, and we're so delighted to have this opportunity, not only for our residents, but also for staff as well. And it's exciting to have come to a church that cares so much about reading.
Well, we have had many, many compliments on the size of our library.
Absolutely.
For the size of the church.
Absolutely.
You know, and of course it's tucked around the corner, and some people don't know it's there, but we keep trying to tell them.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure they'll find it. They just need to ask someone if they don't know where it is, and we'll be happy to show it to them.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it's a delight to be with you, Nita, today, and also with you. Thank you for joining us for Village Church Connections, and we hope to see you soon.
We're glad you joined us for today's show. Tune in tomorrow as Finemark Bank gives us tips on selecting a trusted financial advisor. Until then, this is Shell Point Today for Tuesday, August 13th. I'm Jared Pike, and from all of us here at Shell Point TV, we hope you have a great day, and we'll see you again tomorrow.